We all love Dragon Ball and want to have as much Dragon Ball content as possible. And let's be honest, we have been eating good these last few years. Maybe a little too much. Now don't get me wrong, I love what they have been doing with the canon in modern Dragon Ball. But lately, it feels like they've been so focused on expanding the story that they overlooked the massive world Dragon Ball has to offer. You might not realize it, but Dragon Ball Super already has 9 arcs, 10 if you count Daima, and every single one of them continues Goku's story. And while that's fine, I think most of us would rather see something fresh, like a Saiyan origin story, instead of Goku just fighting yet another stronger opponent. We all love Goku's journey, and of course, he should be the main focus, but modern Dragon Ball has the potential to be so much more. Personally, the story I am most excited about would be one set entirely on planet Vegeta, before Frieza wiped it out. My video, Why It Sucks to Be Born as a Saiyan, was a small glimpse of what kind of story I'd love to see. But the second story I want to see the most is a Future Trunks spin-off series, one that explores what happened to Mirai Trunks after he traveled back to this new future timeline, and how he was going to deal with the many villains waiting for him. So in this video, I am going to tell you what I want to see in the first arc of this story, what kind of threats Trunks could face, how his character could develop, and why this could be one of the best directions for modern Dragon Ball. But before we get into our story, let me tell you why I'm trying this new format. You guys probably know me from my Why It Sucks Dragon Ball series. Well, that series is on pause right now, because I'm working on improving my drawing skills to take it to the next level. That's why I'm taking the 28-day drawing challenge to sharpen my understanding of autonomy and comic illustration. Now I'm nowhere near being a decent animator yet, but I'm hoping to create better illustrations for future episodes, ones that will help immerse you even more into my stories. Skillshare is the largest online learning community for creatives, offering thousands of expert-led classes in illustration, design, animation, film, photography, entrepreneurship, and more. With a learn-by-doing approach, you can create and share projects as you go, all at your own pace. Whether you're a beginner or advanced, Skillshare has the tools to help you grow and bring your creative ideas to life. And for those who have been asking me for tutorials on how to make videos like mine, Skillshare has great courses on Premiere Pro and After Effects that can help you edit simple PNGs just like I do. And if you are one of the first 500 people to use the link on my description, you will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. A huge thanks to Skillshare for sponsoring this video, and now back to our story. Since this story takes place in a new timeline, the one Future Trunks traveled to after the events of Dragon Ball Super, we need a way to differentiate the two versions of Trunks that are now living in this new timeline. To make things easier, we'll refer to the Trunks we followed in Dragon Ball Super as Super Trunks, and the Trunks who have been living peacefully since the events of Dragon Ball Z as Z Trunks. Our story takes place years after Z Trunks saved the world from the androids, but with no Dragon Balls, Earth still hasn't fully recovered. Chaos and civil wars continue to rage. Despite his victory, the burden of rebuilding civilization has been heavy on his shoulders. The world might be free from the androids, but peace is still a fragile dream. Tired of the overwhelming work required to restore order, Trunks continues to push forward, until one day, a new hero mysteriously appears. He calls himself the Great Saiyaman. Trunks is suspicious. Who is this new warrior? Is he a true hero or yet another android in disguise? But over time, his doubt fades. This new hero proves himself trustworthy, taking on much of the responsibility that once rested solely on Trunks' shoulders. For the first time in years, Trunks can finally breathe. This world has a new protector. The story then switches back to Super Trunks. After the battle with Zamasu, when Zeno erased his timeline, Super Trunks was left with nowhere to go. The anime portrayed him as being content with this outcome, even smiling as he left. But in this story, we take a different approach. Super Trunks is not happy. In fact, he's devastated. He failed to protect his people, and his entire world was wiped out from existence. When Goku offered him a place in the main timeline, he refused, not because he didn't appreciate it, but because every moment there would remind him of his failure. Instead, he left, consumed by shame, with only future Mei by his side for comfort. But arriving in this new timeline only made things worse. Everywhere he looks, he sees what he could have saved, what he lost. Even though this world is identical to the one he once called home, he feels like an intruder. like he doesn't belong there. That is, until he meets Z-Trunks. This version of himself is different. He's happy. He's hopeful. He is still winning. Super Trunks makes a decision. He will never interfere with Z-Trunks' life. He refuses to disrupt his happiness. Instead, he takes on a new mission to protect the world from the shadows and ensure his alternate self can live a peaceful life, a life similar to the one he saw his master Gohan have in the main timeline. Main timeline Gohan was the one who taught him that fighting is not an obligation, even for Saiyans, that a life of peace is possible, and now he wants to offer this peace to his other self. During his journey to the past, Gohan once told him about his days as a superhero in high school, the Great Saiyaman days. Taking inspiration from him, Super Trunks embraces this new identity. He dons the mantle of the Great Saiyaman, not just to fight crime, but to become a symbol of hope in a world still struggling to recover from the destruction caused by the androids. And more importantly, this disguise allows him to keep his distance from Z-Trunks. He never wants his alternate self to know he's there, watching over him, ensuring that this timeline remains the peaceful world he always dreamed of. The story then switches back to Z-Trunks, who have been enjoying a little moment of peace, but this peace didn't last. One day, he felt it, a dark, powerful energy landing on Earth. It wasn't just strong, it was dangerous. Trunks wasted no time. He flew toward the source, his heart pounding. When he arrived, he saw a massive ship. It looked just like Frieza's. His eyes narrowed. Did Frieza come back again? He clenched his fists ready to fight. If it's him, I'll handle him just like last time. But then, the doors opened, and it wasn't Frieza. Two Saiyans stepped out. One was an old warrior with sharp eyes full of hate. The other was a giant, his muscles tense, and his expressions empty. The old man spoke first. I am Paragus, and this is my son Broly. We have came to take revenge from the Saiyans royal family. Trunks explained. Vegeta has been dead for years, but they didn't care. If they couldn't fight his father, they'd take their revenge on him. Without hesitation, Trunks transformed into a Super Saiyan. Paragus was shocked. This power, could it be the legendary Super Saiyan? Trunks smirked. You've never seen this before, huh? This should be easy. And then, the fight began. Broly charged. Trunks met him head on. His fist slammed into Broly's chest, but nothing. Broly didn't even flinch. Before Trunks could even react, Broly struck back. One hit sent Trunks flying through the air, smashing into the ground. Trunks quickly got back. He's strong, but let's see how he handles Super Saiyan 2. He lunged forward, attacking with everything he had, but it didn't matter. Broly was still winning. And worst, he was learning. Every second, he was getting stronger. And then, the final blow came. Broly's fist crushed into Trunks' chest, knocking the air out of him. He fell to his knees, struggling to move. Broly raised his hand for the finishing strike, but then a blur of motion. A white cape flashed, a fist slammed into Broly's face. The Great Saiyaman has arrived. Z-Trunks gasped for breath as he looked up. The Great Saiyaman stood between him and Broly, ready to fight. And this time, the battle was different. The Great Saiyaman was fast. His punches actually hurt Broly. And then, he powered up. A golden blue aura exploded around him. Z-Trunks' eyes widened. What kind of power is this? But Broly wasn't done. The more he fought, the angrier he got. And then he snapped. With a monstrous roar, Broly transformed. His wrathful form was unleashed. The ground shook. His power skyrocketed. One devastating punch from him shattered the Great Saiyaman's helmet, revealing the truth. This was Super's future Trunks, in his Super Saiyan Ikari form that he finally mastered. Z-Trunks was shocked. He was looking at another version of himself, but there was no time to think. They had to fight together. Without a word, both Trunks attacked. They had never fought together before, but it felt natural. Their movements were the same. They were the same person. But Broly was still too strong. His power out of control. So Z-Trunks was the first to fall, knocked unconscious. Super Trunks fought harder than ever, but he couldn't win alone. Broly stood over them, his mouth glowing with energy. He was going to finish them. And then, out of nowhere, Kaioshin appeared. At the last second, he teleported them away. But Broly wasn't done. He had lost control completely. Paragus searched for the remote to stop him, but it was gone. He couldn't stop his son. Broly turned toward a nearby city. His hand rose, a massive energy blast charged. If he fired, it would wipe out everything. Mei stood in the front line, leading a desperate defense. They had no chance. Broly unleashed his attack, but then an energy sword flashed. The blast was cut in half. A figure stood between Broly and the city. It was Trunks, but something was different. On his ears, Potara earrings. Both Trunks had fused. This was was no longer Z-Trunks. This was no longer Super Trunks. This was merged Trunks. The battle began again. This time, Broly was losing. Merged Trunks moved too fast. His energy sword sliced through the battlefield. Broly was bleeding, but he couldn't stop. He couldn't control himself. Merged Trunks felt it now. Broly wasn't fighting because he wanted to. He was fighting because he didn't know how to stop. So as Broly charged his desperate final attack, Merged Trunks lowered his sword. He didn't need it. Instead, he clenched his fists, and with a single punch to Broly's stomach, he knocked Broly out. And with a single punch, he knocked Broly out. Referencing Goku's punch in the first movie. As Broly fell, Merged Trunks powered down. He turned towards Paragus and the Frieza Force soldiers and ordered them to take him and never come back to this world. With no choice, they obeyed, and just like that, Broly was spared. In this timeline, without Frieza to trigger it, Broly never achieved his Super Saiyan form. This might be the only reason future Trunks was able to beat him and save the world once again.